Hello and welcome to Sport Tonight. I'm Cecilia Omogbe in Lagos.
Sporty greetings to you wherever you are in the world watching us. In London, I'm Austin Okonapan.
Austin, that means it's Europa League everywhere. It's Thursday night and Manchester United, they are on the driver's seat. 2 goals up at halftime. Sabita, the guy who scored the goal 15th minute into the game and 21st minute into the game. United seems to be flying against a team that is known for Europa League. We call them Sevilla Europa League, right? Because of numbers of times they've won it.
Yeah, good start for Manchester United. I think they've had an opportunity to, taking that one maybe 3-0 to halftime, but Eric Ten Hag and his team will find a way to consolidate on the 2 goals that they scored under 5 minutes in the first half. Sabitzer doing what he needed to do to take those chances. Frustration for the captain of the team, Bruno Fernandes, has been shown a yellow card. I think they will come back, find a way to score a goal or 2, because we know Sevilla loves this competition. So you need to beat them properly, otherwise you might just get a shocker in the second leg. Yeah,
it's possible. All right, this is how the show is looking like tonight. Of course, we'll be talking about Europa League and also touching on Champions League games played yesterday. Chelsea and Real Madrid, match made in heaven. Usually, Karim Benzema, of course, the guy who ensured that they had to go into second leg with 2 goals advantage. And also, we'll touch down on the Nigeria Women's Professional Football League Premiership. We have 5 teams already qualified for the Super 6. Nasarawa Amazons and FC Robo will have to battle it to see who is going to pick the ticket for the last slot for that Super 6. We'll also be talking about Cristiano Ronaldo and the coach. What's the latest? And of course, Sadio Mane. When you see Sadio Mane, he's a very calm and quiet player. But when you heard stories coming from the dressing room, you ask yourself, what really happened? We don't know the true story, whatever Leroy Sané may have said to him, but we'll talk more about that on the program. And of course, we'll also touch on a little bit on what's going on with Frank Lampard. This is how the show will look like tonight on Sports Tonight. Of course, Bolu Omoni is right here in the studio. It's a Thursday, and he's joining us this evening. Bolu, it's great to have you.
Good to you again. I wish you can switch our costumes. I really love your combination with your yellow and your blue on a beautiful sporty day where, well, United are seeing the blues and Sevilla are not looking like it. Even though a certain team that wore blue yesterday, it was beyond blue for them. Everything is not working well. And they saw red, exactly. Playing against the White Angels, the Ala Madrid and everything. Now Chelsea have played 4 games without scoring under 3 different managers. They're still waiting for the goal of the month for the month of April. It's been a not so good month for Chelsea, but it's sports, things happen. And in the other game, many people underrated AC Milan for what they can do against Napoli. Napoli are already in the final, blah, blah, blah. What we just saw is the club in the league is sometimes 100% different from what you perform in the Champions League or on the continent. We can see just that. And the earlier game in the Europa League was the Mourinho's Roman army. They failed just by a single goal. They still have hopes definitely to come back if they play at the stadium. Good to be again. And of course, like I tell people, what a man can do, a woman can do better. If you do not believe that phrase, follow Nigerian sport, especially the football, you will understand. Just check out the NWFL. They give us graphics after every game. They give us the table. They put everything in place. Now we have 5 teams already, and I would love to see FC Robo take the last spot. For whatever reason, I say it all the time. Maybe because I share Lagos State with them, I would love to see Robo always succeed every day, every time.
I think that's the reason, or maybe because of the kind of players that they have. They are very young, talented players. You always want to see those players every time. Austin, let's start off with this one, Sadio Mane. When we heard the story coming out last night, of course, Sadio Mane, the fact that he had a role with Leroy Sané, who happens to be his father, played for Senegal. His father is a Senegalese. Should I say was a Senegalese or former Senegalese footballer? His father played for Senegal, as a player. But then he was born in Germany. Of course, he's playing for the German national team. Leroy Sané is another very quiet player. Usually, we don't hear stories coming out from Bayern Munich. But for the first time, we're hearing this story that Sadio Mane and Leroy Sané had a kind of altercation. And Leroy Sané, he had a bleeding lips, and he even had to cover his lips when he was leaving the airport, going into, entering, going back home after that loss to Manchester City at Etihad. And because of that, he has been suspended for the game this weekend against Hoffenheim. So the club said he has been suspended. He will not be a part of it. But the news is that they both actually trained together this morning. But then we know that Bayern Munich will be facing Man City in the return leg next week, Wednesday, at the Allianz Arena. So this is really not looking good for a club like Bayern.
Let me also add that the press statement from Bayern also states that Sadio Mane will pay, will be given a fine, for that misconduct. It's rather unfortunate. I met Sadio Mane when I covered the last AFCON in Cameroon. Perfect gentleman, philanthropist, easygoing. I'm just wondering what would have happened, and this is sports where emotions, sometimes can just go over the moon. They lost 3-0 to Manchester United. There's a German journalist who's been trying to say some of the things that he knows because he has someone inside Bayern Munich. And maybe Leroy Sané was trying to tell Mane that he should have done better with a particular ball or something. The talk started right from the Etihad into the dressing room. And it is alleged, because we're waiting for Bayern Munich to confirm what this our African brother did to Sané, But it is alleged that he slapped him violently and gave Leroy Sané a busted lip. Rather unfortunate, as I said, because, Mane is known to be a professional through and through. With this now, his future at Bayern Munich looks bleak. And my insider is telling me that with this now, if he leaves, it will give room for Victor Osimhen to join Bayern Munich.
Okay, interesting. Bolu, the report we heard was that Sané actually spoke to him immediately in a very in a manner that he did not like. He said, according to the story, is the fact that Mane complained that the way Sané spoke to him after the game, the defeat against City, he didn't like that. Maybe that was what I don't know, generated that altercation that they had, and of course arguing on the pitch late into the game, and everything, of course, translated to a punch or slap. Well,
it's unfortunate that we are seeing this now. This is about the similar scenario happened in the space of days. Remember what happened at the Bernabeu a few days before? Bani, according to Valverde, insulted him about his unborn child and everything, went to the car park, punched him. Now we're hearing this. And from the reports is that Mane was angry at how selfish Sané was on the field. Mane was free twice or thereabouts in the field. Sané decided to kick the ball. Then when Mane challenged, from the camp of Mane, we are hearing talks about, he called him I think the black player or the black man or something. Then out of anger, Mane went all out, busted his lip and everything. The truth is, like I say all the time, it's always good to keep your hands to yourself. No matter what, put yourself emotions in check. And I agree 100% with Austin. I've not met with Mane, but from reports of people that have had a one-on-one and everything, that Mane is a quiet, gentleman. We saw where Salah did something similar to him at Liverpool. Salah refused to pay. He just got angry to himself. He didn't react. So for him to have reacted this way, maybe it could have been worse than we thought. Hopefully we hear the full gist. But one thing we know is he's not playing this weekend. Whether I will play against Man City next week or not is a different story. But at least it's just a way to tell people, no matter what, just keep your hands to yourself. Try as much as you can to keep your emotions in check. Because sometimes the action is not always as bad as the reaction. That's why in football, when I tackle you, I may not get penalized. If you react, you may get a red card. So my advice would be to Mane will be learn from this. Don't keep your hands to yourself. So let's see what happens at the outcome. But it is sure he will not play against Offenham this weekend.
Yeah, but the good news is the fact that he trained with the team this
morning. Yeah, everything most of the time is always on the field of play after everything. Even the classical then that they beat themselves. I remember Puyo saying we sorted it out after the game. So sometimes it's the emotion of the pitch. What happens afterwards, you get yourself to the training. Because if you continue with the beef, it will definitely affect the rhythm of the team.
If Sané actually said Mane is a black player, who is he?
Are you yellow?
His father is a Senegalese, and of course, we know Sadio Mane is from Senegal. He's the national team captain. All right, Austin, another story is the fact that Rudy Garcia, the coach of Cristiano Ronaldo at El Nassr, has been fired. Right now, he's jobless. He was one of those who wanted Cristiano Ronaldo to come. They spent 200 million to get Ronaldo into that team. But somehow, this team, they still cannot beat the top rivals. Their closest rival, Al Ittihad, they've not been able to beat them. Al Hilal, they've not been able to beat them. Al Shabab, they've not been able to beat them this season. They felt the coming of Cristiano Ronaldo might help the team. But right now, even with Cristiano Ronaldo, just this weekend, he criticized the players after that goalless draw against Al Fahar, a very lowly team. And that's the reason he was fired. Was it the criticism of the players, or maybe they feel he should do better having Cristiano Ronaldo, among his squad?
No, the club also mentioned that they are not satisfied with his style of play. This is just another sad case. You can call him Antonio Conte Pro Max. When come out to, criticize their players. They get into serious problems. But I understand the frustrations of Al Nassr. You spend so much, bring Cristiano Ronaldo, you become the boss of Saudi Arabia, and then you can't win the league. Let's also mention that the last time they won the league was 2019. And so they were believing that this is the time they can do it. And against a lowly rated Al Fahad, playing a goalless draw, and then Rudy Garcia going to the presser to say that he doesn't feel satisfied with the players. The club said, we aren't satisfied with your style of play. So put it together and kiss the club goodbye. Coaches are hired to be fired, particularly when the people who are in charge have the money to, bring, big players, bring big managers. So someone else will come, and then, but I doubt if Al Nassr can actually win the title again.
Yeah, but Bolu here, if you look at it, they are 3 points behind the leaders, Al Ittihad, and in their last 4 games, they've collected 7 points from their last 4 games, and they have 7 games left in the league. So they still have opportunity to actually win the league. So why fire him at this time?
Sometimes some sacks are beyond what happens on the field of play. Like I also said about Antonio Conte, just like Bayern, unfortunately, it feels like the Bayern is not working. They've been eliminated from the Derby Cup, now almost out of Champions. So, and sometimes his statements for Rudy is weird. I remember when Ronaldo joined, there were talks attributed to him that he wanted Messi and not Ronaldo, trying to maybe say things against Ronaldo. You don't do that to probably the biggest man your club has ever signed.
No problem.
And now, suddenly Ronaldo can even end up winning the highest scorer in the league. He's about 5 games behind Odion Igalo and the other, his own teammates who have 60. Ronaldo has 11. With 7 games to go, he can just score probably 15 goals in those 7 games. So sometimes some managers are not tactically sound, but they have ways of making sure the dressing room synergy is together. So when you have your dressing room, at least sometimes the players want to give everything they can. They want to bleed for you. But you can have all the superstars in the world. If the dressing room is not one, nothing will happen. Look at Chelsea. They spent over £600 million, signed everybody, have so many star players, but they've not scored in the last 4 games. So sometimes as a manager, you are a manager, not just a coach. You need to manage the emotions of the player, manage what happens in the field. That's why you have lots of assistants doing some other jobs. Unfortunately for Rudy Garcia, I couldn't do that. He's lost his job. And with the whole money they have, they can do it again. There were reports that they could bring Jose Mourinho with about 100 million. It's not left for. If the report is true, will Mourinho leave Roma and go for that? If I was Mourinho, I've achieved everything I can in football. Well, I may decide to go for a retirement
after that, you stop coaching.
Yeah, 100 million to join. Nah.
Antonio Conte is available. Maybe that's another coach they want
Conte
to go for.
Conte will be worse than Rudy Garcia. Very certain.
So if you're asking Rudy Garcia to leave, you wouldn't want to bring in a Conte. You want a manager that will listen to you.
Maybe a Pochettino, or who knows?
Yeah,
or the Luis Enrique has a Spanish connection, so you never can. If they need
Luis
somebody
Enrique and Ronaldo, I'm not sure that's going to work. Let's just leave that. Okay, Ronaldo obviously will play a big factor to their next manager. Austin, let's talk about NWFL right now. Of course, games that were decided over the weekend. Let's just quickly, midweek games. Let's quickly take a look at those games for this. Today, Rivers Angels and Heartland Queens. It was 1-0. Rivers Angels winning by 1-0. And Nigeria Hotels and Delta Queens, that ended goalless in Abuja. Edo Queens and Ibom Angels, 4-0. All goals scored in the first half. Flip over to Group B. What's it looking like? Adamawa Queens and Abia Angels. That game ended 1-0 in favor of Adamawa Queens. And Oshun Babes and Bayelsa Queens. It was Bayelsa winning by a lone goal. Confluence Queens and Nasarawa Amazons ended goalless. Of course, Confluence Queens already in Super Six qualified for that. Bayelsa Queens already booking a spot in that. Nasarawa Amazons will have to find it out on the last day. They are facing Adamawa Queens on the last day to see if they can get into the Super Six. And of course, this is what is like result from them. Well, let's just quickly take a look at the table before we talk about the teams that booked the spot for the Super Six. Now, this is what the table is looking like after that match day 13. Delta Queens, of course, this season, it did not lose. They just have one more game to play and see if they can remain unbeaten this season. Of course, they're going to Delta to play that last game. They're going to Rivers Angels. They'll be hosting Rivers Angels at home in their final game. 25 points, 7 wins, 4 draws, goal difference of 14. That's how they dominated the Group A. Bayelsa Queens are second, 6 wins, 4 draws, 1 loss. The goal difference 10 and 22 points. You have Rivers Angels, of course, 11, 5, 4, 2, 2. They lost 2 games this season, 5 wins only. That's not like Rivers Angels. But what's important is the fact that they made it to the Super 6. You also have Oshumbes, of course, this team, they've been relegated, and Rivers Angels at the end of match day 13 on 90 points. This is what Group A table is looking like. Let's flip over to what Group B is like. And of course, the Edo Queens, by virtue of the fact that they defeated Ibom Angels by 4 goals to nothing, they moved to top of the table. And Confluence Queens that were topping at that time moved to second and 22 points. They lost 3 games this season, 1 draw and 7 wins. Confluence Queens, 6 wins, 3 draws, 2 losses. Goal difference of 4, really poor, but the Queens had scored more goals this season. And of course, that's where you have FC Robo Queens. This particular one, 11, 6, 1, 4. And of course, 4th place, that's where you have Nasarawa Amazon. So these 2 teams will see if they can pick a spot. Ibom Angels already relegated. And of course, let's take a look at the teams that have been promoted. Now, let's start off with all the teams that have made it to Super 6, where you have Edo Queens, of course, making it to Super 6, Rivers Angels, Bayelsa Queens, Confluence Queens, and Delta Queens. So these are the teams. They just need 1 more team to join, and it's going to be between Nasarawa Amazons and, of course, FC Robo. They have just 1 more game to go. We'll see which of these teams will they need to win their games and see if they can get a ticket into the Super 6. Now, NWFL, you mentioned that when we talk about what men can do, women can do better, you don't need to wait for anything. And the results are coming in. The social media is active. Most of the clubs, they post their games. You don't get, some of them stream, Edo Queens stream. We've seen Niger Rattles, we've seen Delta Queens, some of these teams, Rivers Angels, they try as much as possible to stream their games. And of course, Edo Queens, we know that they always have a YouTube channel where you can actually go and watch the games you mix. So they've been able to organize this in a way that, these teams, enjoying playing good football, and also the organization is quite nice. And
all the clubs have active Twitter handles that put out the results, put out team lineup, put out the goals as they come and everything. But in the men, even NWFL have the official Twitter handle. There was a time they had issues with it, created one immediately. When they got it back, it became active. NPFL. The last active one was LMC NPFL. Since they cancelled LMC, the Twitter handle stopped being active. So I wish the men can learn from these things. It's not hard searching for information about the women's league, and we can see it there. The way their league is going on, I think I'm loving it. I wish Robo can pick up the last. I think just to avoid a defeat or just win to secure that spot. I love Nasarawa Amazons. I love I think my surprise package has to be Confluence Queens. I was surprised. I was like, okay, these guys, they find ways, they will struggle and everything, but they pushed hard. They found a way to get into Super 6. They will tell you Super 6 will now separate the men from the boys, but at least qualify for it first. So when you qualify, you know if you're a man or a boy. So I would love FC Robo to be there so we can at least watch one of our favorites. Talking about them being in Lagos, they've also produced some of the best players we've had in Nigeria, both in Nigeria and for the league. So hopefully they get to make it to the Super 6 coming up later.
Yeah, pictures coming from the game between Edo Queens and, of course, Ibom Angels. That's one of the things I'm talking about, where clubs, have their own equipment to record games, have this game, put it out there, then you get to see it. I mean, the first goal scored by Godwin Eunice, Abidin Suliat, own goal from Ibom, before you have Yetunde Fajobi and Friday's Esther's own goal. That was the second goal before Abidin Suliat and Yetunde Fajobi. They were able to get that. Austin, I mean, last week we talked about Edo Queens. They need to make it into Super 6 and they're facing the Ibom Angels. You said it was a no-brainer. Of course, they will beat. Remember how Ibom Angels, when they came to Lagos, suffering 7-1 defeat against FC Robo. They went to Edo, collected another 4. Although a relegated team already, the things they've been through this season, and you talked about the fact that the management of the club need to do something different next season. But that game against Edo Queens, Ibom Angels, no surprise at all.
Yeah, and Edo Queens, with everything that the state government, seems to have invested in the team, all the club, all the government is to top that table, go to the Super 6 and try to win. And they are trying to do the double, not just with the women's league, but also the men's league, So that's some, big challenge for the Sports Commission. But for Ibom Angels, it is what it is what you sow, you reap. Ibom Angels now relegated, Dakar relegated. It means that the state government isn't doing enough to fund those teams and manage them professionally, But shout out, let's take a look at that Group A table and give a shout out to Rivers Angels. Cecilia, I think 3 weeks ago I told you that they need to step up and show champion stuff. You know, I would have loved to see Niger Rattles because last season they weren't so bad, but you'd rather have Rivers Angels in the Super 6 to make it more competitive than Niger Rattles. You know, so shout out to Rivers Angels. They went away in their last I think two weeks ago. A win, and then needed to beat Atlanta, and they did it with a beautiful goal to now be on third on that table and make it to the Super 6. So that's a really good one. Let's wait to see between FC Robo and Nasarawa Amazons who want to join the other teams in the Super 6.
Who do you really want to see? I mean, Bolu here wants to see FC Robo. You want to see Nasarawa Amazons?
Something about Nasarawa Amazons. Cecilia, was it about 3 or 4 seasons ago? We were celebrating them for the things that they did. You know, and the state government also, you know, popped up, you know, did some investment. But at this stage, you know, at this stage of the competition, it is a team that shows, you know, more commitment, show more ambition, and, you know, determination to go all the way. So, Bolu can do that. He's our analyst. You and I are presenters. So I know if I say one team now, I start getting phone calls.
Oh, we need to go on break.
Let me quickly go on this break. When we come back, there's so much more to talk about, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back, Sports Tonight on Channels Television. We're talking about the Nigeria Women's Football League. All is almost set for the Super 6. We're just waiting for 2 teams, but it's just one that would join the other 5 that have qualified, and that's between FC Robo Queens and Nasarawa Amazons. Cecilia, let's take it from here from you, please.
All right, let's leave NWFL now, and we'll wait for the date when Super 6 will, of course, the venue where to be hosted. Let's go to the UEFA Champions League. I talk about Chelsea and Real Madrid. What happened last night? Karim Benzema, of course, that happened. He started it very early for Real Madrid. They could have scored more. Asensio came as a substitute from the bench and, of course, was able to give them at that. But Bolu, quickly, I mean, when you were watching this particular game, I mean, you expected Real Madrid chances they had. The way they started, as if Chelsea were, okay, we are slipping. The way they started, you expect like 5, I expected 4, 5 goals. Because when you meet a team on their bad day, you just have to beat them well.
Well, that's the thing with Real Madrid. Madrid can see 100 chances and score maybe 1 or 2. The Clasico, they won 4-0. That's the biggest Clasico win I'll see for Real Madrid. I've never seen anyone more than that. In Barcelona on their day, if they see 100, Pep Guardiola's team can score 100 if they see the chances. But Real Madrid, I don't know why, maybe it's intentional or not, but Chelsea started very well. Like the first 2 minutes, they had the chance. All Real Madrid players in behalf of Chelsea threw ball from N'Golo Kante to Joao Felix. I don't know what he was thinking. You know, sometimes when you think too much, should I round the keeper, should I shoot, ding the keeper, it confuses you. And after that miss, they still have a few attempts. After 15 minutes, N'Golo Kante's energy dried up, then it became Real Madrid, the 38-year-old to Luka Modric running rings round. Real Madrid could have scored much more. The only man that was not embarrassed in the defense for Chelsea was Thiago Silva. He was literally in the same position, controlling it. But both the right wing back, Reece James, to the left wing back, Chilwell, to Kukurea, who came on, to Koulibaly, to Fofana, Real Madrid were running rings all through them, thanks to Rodrigo and, of course, Vinicius, who won the man of the match. It was all about Real Madrid, but the most important thing were the goals. Fortunately for them, they got 2. They are definitely in the driver's seat. The first leg last season, they also got 2 goals advantage when they won 3-1 at the Stamford Bridge, went to the Bernabeu and lost 3-2, but they qualified. So let's see what they... I still don't see Chelsea doing anything in the second leg, anything special, because they felt like they've done everything they can by losing by 2 goals. Now they will likely not have Koulibaly. They are definitely not going to have Chilwell. So you're expecting maybe Kukurea playing as left back and maybe having Chalobah. But it was just a game for Real Madrid. People say it was too embarrassing for Chelsea. I thought it could have been worse after they went a man down. But at least they still held themselves together. It was not too embarrassing for them. I still believe they're out. But at least the fact that they could play like that with a man down, maybe they had continued the way they started. After Real Madrid scored, Chelsea had another chance, Raheem Sterling. If he had scored that, it could have been a different ball game entirely. Let me tell you, fine margins in football. Take your chances or you lose. Anytime you are playing the better sides, you don't see chances all the time, maybe 1, 2, 3. And I think the moment again in that game has to be Chelsea's former player, Rudiger. The 90-plus minute block. That could have been a goal from Messi Mount. I didn't know where Rudiger came from. He just found a way to block that. You could see his passion. You know, this was my club. This is my club. You could see the passion and emotion. That could be the decider for Real Madrid. And let's assume Chelsea win 2-1 in the second leg. That save would definitely be remembered as what took there. And by the way, Ancelotti had better touches in the game than both Joao Felix and Raheem Sterling.
Oh no! Austin.
Oh my God! I've been seeing those bands and Bolu. That's
not fair.
You know. But it is what it is. What a story! What has been happening to Chelsea? You know, only the gods of football can explain. But I've tried. I've told them they need to just look for Thomas Tuchel and just apologize, because you cannot understand what Chelsea is going through. The monies that they spent to bring in new players this season. Okay, you've said Potter should step aside. Lampard is here now and his 2 back-to-back losses. I struggle to talk about what happened to them at Real Madrid. So let's listen to Frank Lampard. He's got better explanation.
We were in the game and we had some chances, and I think we can do better. And I think I've been here a short time, and there are definitely things I think that we can utilise our strengths better, especially with the system of the wing-backs. We can be more urgent in giving a problem with that. So those are things for myself and the staff and the players to work on, because I could see opportunity there tonight in ways that we didn't quite take. Spirit at the end of the game, great. 10 men here for half an hour, like, you understand that a lot of things could happen in that, and I don't think we gave them lots and lots of great chances. So I like that part of it, and we have to believe. I need to be the first one that believes that this is possible. The fans will come and support us. You know, we're realists. We're 2-0 down against Real Madrid. That's fact now. That's done. But I've been involved, as you say, in games that change. We're in a different place now, and maybe that's a good thing, because we're in a place where we want to prove some things wrong, to change the tone, to change the story. And, you know, we went tonight with 10 men against Real Madrid. It's a difficult night for the lads. So I see that they're disappointed in the end, but I also saw that they gave everything in that final part of the game. But it'll be different next week. And, you know, we're not favourites. We were not favourites yesterday, and we're not favourites today. That's football. And the possibilities are ours if we can take them.
Frank Lampard, you know, trying to explain what happened in that 2-0 loss to Real Madrid. He saw opportunities, and yeah, we saw those opportunities also. But let's not write Chelsea off yet. This is the UEFA Champions League. He said the fans will come out, but the players also need to prove themselves. The players need to show that they are ready to take their destinies into their hands. And I think if Chelsea can beat Real Madrid next week, that will turn their season around, Cecilia.
Yeah, I think that will happen. But let me throw this question to Bolu here. Ben Chilwell, what was he thinking, the thought he had on Rodrigo? I mean, we could have, I mean, of all things to do, maybe he couldn't have scored. But what was he thinking?
I think, like some people tell you, like decisions he made instantly. The fault actually for that has to go to Kukurea. Kukurea lost his position.
Yes.
And it was a brilliant through ball because he actually followed another player out. You switch position, but it was more like rush of blood. If I let him go, maybe he could have scored. 2-0 at that moment could have been worse. But one thing I tell people all the time is it's better to concede and remain 11-11 than to not concede. Because imagine Adamawa ended up scoring that free kick. It would have been lose-lose for them. But it ended up working well, because if that goal had gone in, maybe it could have been more for them. But at least they defended better, sort of. He still maintained his back three. But it's more of rush of blood. I'm sure if he sees that clip again, he'll be thinking to himself, could I have maybe tried to chase him down? Because something similar happened with Militao and Joao Felix earlier in the game. And Militao didn't do anything like that. Militao chased him down and maybe let him push to the side. If Chilwell had done that, maybe it could have been a different outcome. It still comes to your experience, how calm you are in situations like that. Unfortunately for Chilwell, he was not calm enough and he had to bring down Rodrigo.
Yeah, that wasn't a good tackle at all. All right, let's take a listen to Carlo Ancelotti. Of course, he says he's satisfied with the result. Of course, obviously he will be, but he feels it's not yet over, because 18th, next weekend, they will be playing again.
We are satisfied for the result, for the performance, but it's not over yet. We have to fight, to sacrifice other 90 minutes at Stamford Bridge, and we have to be ready for this. We are satisfied only for tonight. It's not over yet, and we know really well that Chelsea will try to put everything next week.
Yeah, next week they will try to put in everything. Austin?
Yeah, and it's football, and this is the UEFA Champions League, and anything can still happen. I'm not putting Chelsea away with this contest. I just want the players to step up. That's what they've not done all season. Frank Lampard is in a very tight place. He has told them he will do his best, but he's not the messiah, So he will just try to see if the players can step up and make it right. It's the UEFA Champions League, Cecilia. We had some interesting results also yesterday. AC Milan beating Napoli makes that second leg explosive, because by then Victor Osimhen would have been back, and we'll see something special from Napoli, hopefully. But well-deserved win for AC Milan.
Bolu, no Osimhen, there is a big problem.
Although many have said Osimhen is the reason they are losing, I tell you it's not. Osimhen has played about 5-6 games or thereabout against Milan. He's yet to score against them. But obviously, yesterday, if you look at the game, Kvaratskhelia, about 2-3 players were marking him. If Osimhen was on the field, at least 1 or 2 of those guys will be on Osimhen, which will free up space for Kvaratskhelia. So it's now about who do we mark between these two guys. And Osimhen also gives mobility for the team. No matter what you say about him, I don't think Osimhen will save them from conceding goals. But at least he can help them add to the goals. They played Milan twice in the space of maybe 10 days or thereabout, conceded 5 without scoring a single goal. Yeah. So that's where the Osimhen discussion comes in. If he was on the pitch, we saw a few crosses yesterday that he may have ended up scoring. We don't know how 100% he will be. The coach has said he will be 100% fit. It could be mind games, but at least he's assured us that Osimhen will play for next week. I don't think they'll risk him this weekend. Let's just keep him fresh for the Milan game. Before yesterday's match, 8 straight games, these two sides, there was no home win between them. AC Milan broke the jinx. So the question now, will you go back to the norm next week, or Napoli will do everything? They've got it to their highest record, quarterfinal in the Champions League. So sometimes the mindset is set, so this is our achievement. How much more do they want to get to the semi-final? Obviously, next week we'll get to know. 1-0 is not bad. Chelsea are down 2. Bayern Munich are down by 3. Benfica are down by 2. But Napoli are down by 1 goal. Fortunately for them, the next leg is at hope. So let's see if they can do enough to beat Milan and progress to the next round.
Yeah, AC Milan, they haven't been to the semi-final of the Champions League in 16 years. That's a long time. And I believe they want to have everything, do everything possible to break that jinx of 16 years not being in semi-finals.
That sort of record can motivate you, and it's not just AC Milan. I think it's the entire, Italian teams competing in UEFA Champions League. Shout out to Inter Milan. They went to a difficult Benfica ground to win 2-0. And I think for so many years, we've not seen 3 Italian clubs qualify for the quarterfinals of the Champions League. But unfortunately, AC Milan were paired with Napoli. Napoli, on current form and everything they've done this season, easily will be tagged favorites. And if you listen to the stats, as Bolu stated, no home wins. But with the Champions League, it comes with a different, fever. And that's why we saw what we saw yesterday. But we all know, Bolu and the Nigerian fans, they are rooting for Napoli because of Victor Osimhen. To be good to see our own Victor Osimhen advance in the UEFA Champions League, so that by the time he probably gets to the final, we'll see what path we say not to give him the African Footballer of the Year with everything that he has done this year. Let's go to the Europa League. About 73 minutes played in that game between Manchester United and Sevilla, and it's still 2-0. Sabitzer goals in the first half makes the difference in that one. But big result for Feyenoord, Cecilia, in the Europa League.
Yeah, it's a big one for them. Let's just take a look at what we have right now. You still have some games going on. But then if you take a look at Feyenoord against Roma, AS Roma actually missed a penalty, 43rd minute. And after that, of course, Feyenoord, after going a goal up, they won the first leg. But then, you know what will happen in the second leg. And also the game between Bayer Leverkusen and Union Gulaus, that game ended, of course. This is a shocking one. This is still on. This game is still on. But let's see what's going to happen at the end of the 90 minutes. Juventus and Sporting Lisbon, they're still struggling it out. It's still goalless. Of course, Sabitzer talked about him earlier, giving United that 2-goal lead against Sevilla. Second half is on. We'll see what's going to happen in the next minutes that is left for these two teams to play. But for you, I'll come to you. Juventus, which one are you surprised? Okay, fine. We know the games are still on. But let's talk about the one that full-time, which is Roma and Feyenoord. I think surprise.
Not really, because Roma have not been very impressive. They just know how to win and qualify. Remember that game against Sociedad? I think second leg, they had about 20-something% possession. Immediately they knew just try and get your draw and qualify, and they did just that. So I'm not so surprised. The second leg could also end maybe a 1-0 or goalless, and the game ends like that. Roma are not the most impressive, and the fact that they lost Tammy Abraham and Dybala to injury, I think those were two major blows for the side. The surprise there for me has to be Union Gilois. These guys, like play, local balance, they've been growing. Yeah. They beat my favorite Bundesliga team this season in the last round, Union Berlin. Now they are leading Bayer Leverkusen, who have been brilliant under Xabi Alonso. If they win this game, I think more attention will be on them. But obviously, Man United, Sevilla, impressive. If it ends like this, I think United should be good enough to progress to the semi-final.
They need to score more. Austin, I mean, we have a goal coming from Juventus. They are a goal up right now, which is a good one for the old ladies.
Yeah, you know, because they've been pushing, they've been fighting, and finally they've gotten that goal scored by Garcia in the 73rd minute. Sporting also have been a little bit decent, but they've not just been daring enough going forward. Maybe they were just being careful so they don't concede so much. You know, particularly when you play the first leg away from home, you want to try to cut the deficit as much as you can. But as you mentioned, the old ladies, they will cherish this goal, hopefully push to see if they can score a second or a third. But they must be careful because it can also end 1-1.
It's dicey right here, because when you look at these big teams, you look at Juventus, you look at Manchester United, I mean, playing Europa League. We understand Sevilla, I mean, that's, you know, customer. We're used to seeing them Europa League. But when you look at some big teams playing Europa League, like, what's going on? But then they're struggling against Sporting Lisbon.
We saw Barcelona versus Man United in Europa League. That's that was
Champions League final in
2009-2011. Twice in 3 years. Now both of them played in Europa League. Sevilla won Europa League, qualified for Champions
playing
League.
to get into
the round of 16. Sevilla qualified for Champions League, finished third to come to Europa League. Went to Champions League, so they are used to this place. But for Juventus, the truth is, this is their best chance of making the Champions League next season. After the 15-point induction, they are still not far off in the Serie A, but this is their best chance. At least win the Europa League, and you are sure of making the Champions League. So, and they are not doing too much. I can't count, just like Barcelona, I can't count how many 1-0 Juventus have won this season. People will tell you win is more important. Scoring 10 goals is good, bonus. But the most important one is to win. And if you enter like this for Juventus, you can easily say when they go to Portugal next week, just going to fight for a draw. But a win would definitely be very, very important for the old ladies.
Yeah, it's been hard. I just have the confirmation of that result. Juventus now won, Sporting Lisbon, of course, nil. Austin was talking about it may not end like this, because you have these teams who really want to have a better goal difference, because we know that the away goals doesn't count anymore. But for Manchester United, they need to score more to be sure of having a space in the semi-finals. Because Sevilla, when it comes to them, this is a trophy they've won. I mean, we've lost count of numbers of times they've won it. It's more like their own trophy.
They love it, you know, they love the competition. But Eric Ten Hag, when he came, he said he needs to get that trophy cabinet busy again. And he has added one in there now. I'm sure they will be pushing to get to the final of this Europa League, and that's why he has made 3 tactical changes. He has taken off Bruno Fernandes, who was booked in first half. He has taken off Anthony Martial and Jordan Sancho, and he has introduced Eriksen. And you know, when Eriksen comes in, he comes with a lot of creativity, and he can actually be the joker. So Manchester United might just get that third goal. Also introduced into the game is Vegas, so now they can make use of the area balls, and then Anthony Elanga. So this is Eric Ten Hag saying, I know my team, I've got depth, and I can use them the way I wanted to get the result. So it will be good to see if they can push to, you know, get a final. I know you want to tell me that we have to wrap up the show. We shouldn't.
All right, we have to go.
Okay, so that's it. It's still Manchester United 2 and Sevilla 0. In London, I'm Austin Okonakwan, and in everything you do, remember, you're talking sports. Bye for now.
All right, Bolu, thank you so much for coming tonight.
It was a pleasure being around you.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm Cecilia Omogbe. Have a good night rest.